Now, if we want to categorize plant assets, it typically breaks down to 3 categories. So I was trying to write this on the whiteboard earlier. The 3 categories of plant assets, you can differentiate it by its physical appearance of the asset, tangible assets, whether it's the natural resources that comes from the ground directly. We don't do any human manufacturing or processing step to it. These are natural resources. Intangible assets is another type. Intangible assets basically link to anything that has creativity, ideas, or intellectual property related. Okay, so if you look at the detailed categories here, patents, copyrights, software programs, these are all the things that have a design aspect, design factor in it. So meaning that if you look at the software program, if it's captured in a DVD or a CD, let's say, the value doesn't come from the disk or the case itself. It comes from the idea, the intellectual property in it that's being captured in the DVD or in the disk. Okay, copyrights, patents, if you write a book, the things, of course, doesn't come from the book itself. It comes from the idea in it. So intellectual properties goes into the intangible assets part. You can't really see the value of the asset by looking at the appearance. Okay, it's the idea in it. So as opposed to this, tangible assets are the things that you can pretty much identify its usefulness by looking at it. Right? Furniture, up to now, all the things that we talked about as plant assets pretty much falls under this category. Okay, so if you take a look here, you see land, furniture, equipment, desk, building. These, of course, are not the exhaustive list of all the tangible assets, but these are the key points, the main ones that you will see in this chapter. Okay, now natural resources, these are the things that has never been manufactured or processed by human. So some of the companies may be dealing with different types of minerals, different types of resources that are extracted from the ground. So we'll be counting the value by barrels of these resources, tons of these resources, typically by its weight. Okay, later on next Monday I'll talk about this, unless we have time today. So these different types of plant assets, we have different ways to determine how we have been using these assets. Depreciation only links to tangible assets. Okay, so keep in mind that the 3 different methods that I will be covering today all links to the way to account for tangible assets. So the main focus of this chapter, I would like you to know how to use those 3 depreciation methods, and all of them relates to how to depreciate tangible assets, the ones that you can actually physically see by your eye. Okay, any types of machine, equipment that you see in the warehouse is considered tangible assets. Okay, furniture, cabins that you see in administrative offices, tangible assets. Okay, these 2, not each and every company has them on their balance sheet. Okay, only a specific type of industry has natural resources. Only a specific type of industry would have intangible assets. But pretty much each and every company would have the first category, real tangible assets. Okay, so the first category is the core here. These 2, only specific type of industries uses them, and you will see it appearing on balance sheet. Otherwise, you wouldn't see these 2 categories. Okay, now an exception here is that, remember I mentioned earlier, land is never depreciated. Okay, here's an exception. Like later on we'll talk about depreciation methods, but none of them applies to land. Okay, all the other tangible assets will be depreciated along the years based on the miles that we have been using the truck, different types of vehicles. The land is the only account that you have to keep in mind. We do not depreciate it, no matter how the problem tells you that the original purchase price, or we estimate how long it can be used in the business. We do not divide it by years, spread it along the years. Okay, because land also, the value of it constantly may be changing, so we don't estimate how long we have been using it.